Do you want to buy my thing? Do you want to buy my thing? Do you want to buy my thing? I'm going to put it on Facebook. Do you want to buy my thing? Oh, and a picture. Okay. Good. Oh, I hope someone wants to buy my thing. Do you ever get stuck in a rut where you know you're not doing the right thing, but you can't quite figure out what else to do? That happens to me. I don't know about you, but that happens to me. Today we're going to talk about how we can make sales more fun and more profitable and get out of the ruts that we're stuck in. I would argue that we're all in sales. I know most of you in this room are, but mostly across the world with all of the social media and all the things we do in our lives every day, how visible we are to the outside world, we're all in sales. So today we're going to talk about how a vision of ourselves, a new perspective about what sales really is, and taking action can make your sales more profitable. So how did I get my vision of myself? I was 16. This is the first vision I remember of myself, the vision that was driving me forward, not my first memory. I was 16. We were sitting at the beach, and I turned to my friend Paul. We were talking about mottos. We're from a real small town, so what was our motto for the senior yearbook? And Paul had asked me, and I said, Paul, I'm going to live without regret. And Paul turned back to me with this look on his face, and he said, how? Well, that had sealed the deal. I was going to live without regret now for sure. I turned to Paul and I said, Paul, I'm not getting pregnant in high school. I'm going to college and then med school. I'm going to make all good decisions, and I am going to live without regret. Now, as it turns out, Paul might have been a little bit ahead of me in maturity at that point. I might have had a little bit of a pipe dream, but in fact, I have lived my life without regret since then. I haven't done it by only making good decisions. In fact, I quit college. I didn't go to med school. I've been divorced. I've had an addiction and an eating disorder. I even tried to commit suicide. I've been disrespectful to myself and my parents and others in my life. And yet, even in those hideous moments of failure, I have managed to live without regret. Even when life happened and drove me to my knees, I always knew in the back of my head that that was my goal and that I would get up and be a better person for the challenge. Today, when I think of my vision of myself, I have it narrowed down to 3 words. And I know you might be like me. I think, I can do anything. I can help this person or that business or this business. And it gets so overwhelming that I had to eventually narrow my focus down. So I took the whole world down to 3. Now, if you're at all like me, that was a little more challenging than I thought it was going to be when I started. I thought about it really hard. Think, what 3 words? What 3 words? What 3 words do I want to lead my life? And of course, the harder I thought, the more blank my mind became. So here's what I did. And you can do it right now with me. I thought of 3 people that I thought were the cat's meow. People I looked up to, people that I was maybe a little bit jealous of, people that I wanted what they had. And I just started writing as fast as I could on a sheet of paper all the traits that I admired about them, all of their characteristics, all their successes, all of the things they did in their life that I wanted. And I wrote all that down on a sheet of paper. And then it allowed me, in doing that work, to step back. And you know how when people say you start blaming others, that you're pointing 1 finger out and 3 fingers in? Well, that works in the positive too. Just like I can say, you're greedy and notice that I'm greedy, or you're selfish and notice that I'm selfish, I can also say, you're awesome and know that I'm awesome too. So when I picked my 3 words, I picked tenacious, enthusiastic, and sincere. Those were the words that I wanted to drive towards in any day, no matter what I was doing. If I was parenting, if I was working, if I was hanging out with my husband, those are the things that I wanted to embody in every day. And I wanted to know and have decided in my heart that if I fall asleep and all I was tenacious, enthusiastic, and sincere, that day had been a success. That's how I created a strong vision of myself, and how you can too. So now that we have this strong vision that can withstand the world and all its challenges, what do we do next? When I was the director of sales for Wayfair, Wayfair is a small food company in Bozeman, Montana, and we made cheese from oatmeal. Now I know what you're thinking. What is cheese made from oatmeal? And I'll tell you what, no one in the world woke up this morning thinking they wanted to try cheese made from oatmeal. That was my challenge at Wayfair. So while I was at that company, I came to the realization that I was in sales. I had been in fundraising, I had been an entrepreneur. I had never thought I would ever be in sales. But when my title finally said Director of Sales and Marketing, I kind of took one for the team and decided that's what I was. In that job, 90% of what I did was get on the phone or walk into a grocery store and cold call. As a small company, grocery stores don't make appointments. So it was actually walking up face to face in the cold calls all the time. I would sit in my car before I went in, and I would start to stress out. I would hold the steering wheel, and I would try to convince myself, or get the steering wheel to convince me, that there were no bears or spiders or tornadoes or sharks or anything that could actually hurt me, that it was all just in my head. When I finally amped myself up to the point, I would jump out of the car, grab my cooler full of cheese made from oatmeal, and run into the store before I could overthink it anymore. But my perspective of sales as this thing that was intruding on people's lives was making me hate my job. I loved the idea of what I was trying to do and how I was trying to help the world, but I hated sales. I couldn't do it. It was taxing emotionally and physically, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. So I had to change my perception of what I thought it was so that I could continue to make my mark on the world. So here's what I did. In my life, I love to be of service. I like teaching kids. I like helping out around the house. If I can do anything, say on Christmas, to help my mom out, I just lose myself in that. And time passes and my emotional tank fills up instead of getting depleted. So I decided I had to look at sales in the perspective that sales is service. And here's how I did it. I started thinking about all the things in my life that I don't understand. And I don't know about you, but there's a lot of things in my life that I don't understand. One thing that I use every day is a computer. And I can look at that computer and I know exactly what I want to do with it. I want to type a document, or I want to edit a video, or I want to take a picture. I know everything that I want to do with it. But when I start trying to translate that into ROMs and RAMs and giga-somethings, and I don't know any of that. I don't understand it, and I need a salesperson to help me figure that out. I can't go buy a computer without help. So when I thought about it that way, sales is of service. And when I jumped back into my job selling cheese made from oatmeal, I could put myself in that same position as the computer salesperson was in for me. I can talk to a family, a mom of 3 kids, one who just got diagnosed with a dairy allergy, and say, hey, you can still have grilled cheese, and translate that for her into her everyday life. I can talk to the man of 75 who just had a heart attack and say, hey, your doctor's not going to let you have cheese for probably ever, but you can still have queso dip because this works. Or I can talk to the run-ragged mom who's doing 3 birthday parties a week and say, you know what, you can make queso dip with this on Monday, heat it up for 6 hours, it will never separate and turn into oil and sludge at the bottom of your crock pot. So I can translate what I have into something that is of service to whomever I'm serving. When I sell it to a grocery store, I translate it for them too. It's not a product. It's something that will make them more money, which is what the buyer is trying to do with his little piece. If you didn't know, grocery stores are all about real estate. I didn't know this when I started. But they need to make an X amount of dollars per whatever on that shelf, or it's not good for them. So I would translate that for them as well. So now that we have a good, strong, world-ready vision of ourselves, and we know that we have to make our job into something bigger than sales or whatever it is you're doing, something that turns you on, makes your or ignites your passion, now what do we do? Well, we take action. And when I bought a house, the actions weren't clear. My husband and I had been shopping for a house for 2 or 3 months. We had gone to open house after open house after open house. We had gone with realtors. We saw the same floor plan on 3 different blocks. And it was so frustrating. Our budget did not match our desires, and we didn't know what to do. So one day, as we were making last-ditch efforts of trying to move out of his parents' house before they got back from vacation, and I know how important that was to get out before they got back, we made one last-ditch effort. We pulled up to a house which we thought might be our dream house. Now, it didn't look like our dream house at the time. It didn't have siding, and it didn't have shingles. But since my husband's in construction, it kind of looked like our dream house. He started showing me around inside, and eventually the workers came back, and we started chatting with them. And we had a deal. We were like, hey. They were clearly flipping the house. It was 2010, and this was happening a lot, so you could kind of tell by driving by that's what was going on. We said, hey, what if you stop working on the house and sell it to us as is? Jeff can put it all back together, and we can get it for a price we can afford. And they were like 19, 20, just working on houses between college, in the summer between college. And they said, well, I don't think that'll work, because where would we work tomorrow? Like, we don't have another house. Our parents are the investors, and they're out of town, and we don't have anywhere else to go. We have to work on this house. But we have a house a few blocks away, and we'll sell it to you for your price. And we were in shock, because we had never looked at anything besides a condo, and this is a single-family house. And we thought, okay. And we told them, we'll buy it. Just tell us where it is. So off we trottle to go check out the house. And it was great. I mean, there were some issues. It was kind of the goods are, or what, the odds are good, but the goods are odd type of deal. There was a black tarp across the whole backyard. There were strange hills and a lot of rocks in the front yard, but you know what? The house was stable, or was solid, and we wanted it. So we ran back, and we got them before they went home from work for the day. We made the deal, shook hands. They said they'd send me a contract in the mail, or on the email that night. And I got a contract. And I'm not a realtor, but it didn't look quite right. It kind of looked like a lot of cutting and pasting off Google. But I thought, whatever, I don't care. We're buying a house. I brought it into the banker, and the baker, he was not as happy even as I was. He said, if they want to back out at any point in this contract, they will just back out, and you won't be able to stop them. And we thought about it for about 10 seconds, and we said, we don't care. We're going to take action. We're going to move forward. We're going to buy the house, and if it falls apart, that's the way it is. So we did. We bought the house, and the parents came back, or we signed the contract, and the parents came back from Hawaii. And their sons had just sold a house for, about $100,000 less than they should have. And I'm just like praying and like telling the mom on the phone every time I talk to her, oh, we're going to start our family here. It's going to be so awesome. Thank you so much for selling us this house. And they were full of integrity and honored their son's handshake deal and invalid contract and sold us the house. When the ink was dry, my blood pressure finally went back down. But the point is, even though the thing was right in front of me, I was nervous. I had never bought a house before. I didn't know what I was doing. It didn't even seem right, and people were telling me it was wrong. but I was willing to take action because that was what is in front of me. And oftentimes, I don't know about you, but I get stuck because even though the next right thing is standing there in front of me, I'm not sure what to say, or I don't really want it to be that thing, or I just don't know what to do. And I get stuck and I get in my own way, and I'm not willing to move forward and take the next right thing, and do the next right thing. So in your business and in your services today, I want to encourage you to get that strong vision of your life, that person that you are, that it can withstand the challenges of the world, to change your perception of what you're doing and make it fit with what you're passionate about, and then take action. Jump off the diving board and make the biggest splash you can. Well, at home, it was 15 minutes here.